Just in the recording. Okay, so I'm making this video just to demonstrate the Azure platform, how to make the buckets, Azure blobs, and later on to do the Power BI connections. So the first step is to go to the Azure portal. So I've already came on the website. So we'll sign into the Azure portal. Go to the portal. I already have my data dev Inara signing credentials in there already. So when you first sign in, you have to put in the credentials. It's our usual sign in with Inara Bio at inarabio.com. So right here, this is what you'll see to create resources in the buckets. So what I would be doing is you would immediately try to create a storage account. So for example, go through the process. So I've already created the resource storage accounts, and each storage account is attached to a resource group, which is where we could control who has access. But I'll go through the process now. So let me let's add one here. So this is what you'll see when you want to create a bucket. So free tile, you'll attach it to either an existing resource group, which I've already created, or you would create a new one. So let's create a new one. Let's call it Inara Bio space test res grp. So create one there, and then we would call it bucket. So Inara Bio test blob. This is what they call it in Azure. The location, we keep it in the UK for GDPR reasons. We want to keep that there. We're going with the standard. We don't need a premium. This is typical storage. That remains the same. This one, we would go local redundant. We don't need to pay for the extra like geo-global provisioning duplication. It's not necessary for us. Networking, this is fine. The only thing I would turn on here is turn on soft delete, so we could keep at least a 7-day soft delete rewind. We go to advanced. In this part here, the most important thing that we want to turn on is the data lakes origin too, so we just enable that. There is a facility where you would have a large file share, but that's typically for very large files of 5 terabytes and up. And we don't need that. We don't need to pay for it, and we don't need to provision it because there is downsides to having it that way. We could do some tagging as well if we want to do some tagging in terms of trying to follow on with the costs and allocations there. Won't do that right now. So we'll create a resource, and I'll just create it, and it just takes a couple of minutes. It won't take very long. Here to provision, just a few seconds. Typically it takes about 1 to 2 minutes to do this, so I'll just hang out here. Might just stop this, cut through. The 20 is complete. Okay, deployment is complete, all is good. We could go to the home. So I refresh, see what's going on there. Just refresh again. Just need to wait for it to populate. Resource groups taking a couple of minutes. So I'll just wind through this with the edit probably. Refresh again. Resource groups. So here we are in the resource group. So typically once we have the resource group up and the test bucket is up, I would go to access control. This is where I allocate who can have access to this bucket or resource group and in turn populate it down the buckets. So role assignments. So this is what you typically do. So you select a role. In most cases, we would be doing something like contributor, who has access to read and write. But this can be changed depending on what we want to do. If you want to fix the folder, who can delete the folders, then I would probably pick one of the other ones, or even go deeper into the kind of the custom profiles. But for now, just for demonstration's sake, so I'll just pick the custom. It's part of the user group. So here you see all the individuals who are part of the in our bio single sign-on. So I would be there. So let me put my name there. So Okpa. So I'll add. So it will come up. So I've added myself. Matthew is there. Let me see if Hayden comes up. Hayden. So Hayden's there. So you every one of us would be added to the resource group as an owner or contributor in this case, which means we have full access to those buckets. So and if you want to check if somebody what the roles have been assigned to, we could come here and we could keep a track of who's in that resource group. So if we ever need to remove somebody from that resource group down the line, you just come here and just remove them. So it's easy to track who has access to those buckets, and it helps with the security and keeping governance of the buckets and the data sphere. So so from here on, okay, so we have access to the buckets. Let's go back to the resource group. Sorry, let's go resources. Just gonna go home for a second. So the resource group is there. There's a bucket in there. So that's there. So this is the bucket. So within the bucket, or the blob, we call it a blob in our blob, we create our folders or containers. So the first container I'll call it, I usually call it root folder for the top one. So always keep it as a root. It has to be a small root folder. So we create a root folder, and then from there on I cascade it down to add directory. So I'll create another root main. I should have renamed it the other way around, but never mind. And then add directory. So I usually call like something like meta main or top meta home. This is where I would keep some documents which are related to the whole folder structure, and if there's help kind of files, instructions, tracking, wherever these documents would be, I would populate them in this folder. Acts as a kind of a repo for kind of help and guidance and tracking. So I'll keep that at the top folder, and then underneath that I would add directories. So let's say a folder or whatever these would be called. So I'm just calling A for now. B directory. So B dir or B folder. Sorry, folder, and so on. So this is all well and true. So we have all of that. Now, one thing that is really cool here is that once we are at the top level, there's this thing called Storage Explorer. Yeah. So there's two ways to use Storage Explorer. So you can use the GUI that is here on the web surf, but even better is actually to download the Azure File Explorer download. Azure File Explorer. So you'd come here, wherever it is. Maybe it's not on this one, but somewhere. Cloud Storage Management. So yeah, so you pick your operating system, Windows, Linux, wherever. I'm on Windows. Matthew, you're on Mac. It does not matter. You would download it, and then you press So now this is Microsoft's own file explorer. It's very well integrated. It's free and unpaid. And in essence, what you get is this app, which you would open. And let it run for a minute. So this is the app, and then you would connect to it. So let me just go back to the connections myself. Which one is it? Just quickly. I don't want that. That's not what I want. So okay, so these are my connections right now. I could remove them. So currently I'm only signed in with my own personal account, so not the data dev account, but my own personal account, just to test out as a general user what I would see. So I've given myself access on the back end, and this is my front end where I would access that. And I'm in these buckets, so I've applied it. I'm there, and this is what you would get once you sign in. So this is kind of a long list, which is kind of confusing, but there's a local kind of attachment, which I don't use, and we don't need to use it for now. But predominantly, what I have here is access to these resources underneath the previously, which I've created earlier on, is in our bio resource group 1, which is where I will demo. And this is the one I've just created, the resource group test. And this gives me the access to buckets. So this is one bunch of buckets, and this is where it sits. So depending on which resource group you are, so this is the test blob container, which is the one I just created as a demo, root folder and all of that. But this is the one I kind of demoed to you guys early in the morning, and you have all the folders within. And you have root folders, ADT, vtest, where I have my Power BI kind of connection, root folder 2 as well, world data also. And I've created a new one called images, where discussion what we had with me and you, Hayden, is to see if we could kind of add images. So I've added another folder, and this is where my images would go. And I will demo now with Power BI how to access those images in conjunction with the folder or the CSV files. So within the CSV files, I've just added one extra. So I've just double clicked this, and it's should open it for me. Just give it 1 second. Okay, it didn't open it here, but there is a. Let me see if I go here. I know I can do it from here. So let's see, which folder am I in? Let me go to a different bucket. Home. That bucket was, let's go down to antigens, containers. Yeah, container 1, root folder, Power BI test. So this one? I think it was the other one. Sorry. And this one. Can't remember where I put it. Yeah, I think it's that one. Yes, it's folder 2. So within folder 2, I have my world CSVs. Now I can preview, view or edit, I believe. So this gives me a view from here, what is in there. So I've added another kind of column called the images. And this will link to the images which I've put in the other folder through Power BI. And I'll demo that now. So yeah, so coming back to this, so this is the folders. This is where we have kind of a consecutive bunch of data, kind of Excel sheets, which are all the same, similar, but with different data within them that represent kind of a continuation of the data sets that gets added on a daily basis. And from the morning's kind of demo with Power BI, I would open up Power BI. And I've already established a link between Power BI and these folders. Second. And Yeah, so I am opening the latest one. Where is the Power BI data? Power BI demo data. Yep, okay. Apply changes, whatever those are. So it's doing a refresh. So I've already kind of extracted that data, the CSV. So this is where it came from. This is which CSV it came from. This is kind of column number 1, column number 2, population, GDP, um, and kind of an images. I haven't put images links to all of them, but for the ones I did, these are the image links. So these are the names of the um, going back, the names of the here we are, root folder. So world data again. Oh, it's not this one. Ah, I was getting confused which folders I was using. Is it this one? Power BI? No, it's not this one. Which one was it? Oh, it's in this one. Yeah. So this is the name of the images. So let's just view one of them. So this is an image that I've just random image that I've put in, so in that folder. And this is just the name. So it's not the image itself, it's just the name of the image. This here is the link that is associated generally to that folder, the folder that I've established in the buckets. And coming back to Power BI, the cool thing that you can do, you could just quickly write a very simple kind of command where it will go to the link and add the kind of the tag of the image or the image file name, and then that will populate as an extra column, and it'll input the image in there. And the cool thing that I've just done is that you can do this. You could hover over it and you could actually view that image. So if that's something that, I think Hayden kind of alluded on, is that he would like to kind of have access to something like that where they could view the images in the file. So any file that you have, if you have a folder with the images related to that, if you add the link, or at least the name of the folder of the file within the folder that it resides in, then you could establish a connection and grab those images and populate those within your kind of report and have this as a live report. So this is a very quick demo. Matthew, you've kind of were interested in the box. Let me just see here. There they are. So box and whisker charts. So there's a lot of plugins that we could use to visualize data sets that are amiable to that. So box and whiskers. So we could just download those. I mean, I would test them out, see which one is the best, but you download it. So it's now imported into Power BI. Where is it? This one here. You'd kind of dump it somewhere in the panel. All these panels are completely editable. You can change the size of the page, change the size of how many visuals you want to include. It's very nice once you finish kind of developing it. It's very kind of user friendly, and it can be printed out. Two things in terms of Power BI: you could print them out, publish, export as PDF. You could do filtering on this data. So if I choose, let's say, some countries, I could establish a filter and decide which countries I want to view. You can decide if you want to use only countries that start with A. You go to a bit more advanced filtering, then you specify containing which letters. In terms of GDB filtering. You could filter in terms of uh, like you want to see the largest numbers or the smallest numbers or something like that. So it's very it's very sophisticated in terms of filtering. Um, yeah, so that is more or less the demo. I don't know how many minutes that was, but yeah, let's try to build something with a real kind of data set and work on it. Like I said, the first part is trying to design the folder structure and keep that as that's the most important thing, and also the consistency of the data that goes into it. The files need to be the same shape, especially if we want to aggregate those or add them, combine them, or something like that. And in terms of connectivity, so you connect it to the blob or the container within the blob within Azure. You establish the connection with Power BI. You bring that data in. In here, you do some ETL if you like in the backend, just prepping the data. And then finally, you would work on the visuals and filtering and how you want to represent that, how you present that, and how to share that. All this data. So once you do the filtering, you could export it. You could export kind of all the numbers that you filtered out, specific KPIs that you're interested in. So, okay, I'll keep it there. Hope that helps. Let's discuss further next week. Okay, thanks. Bye.